We have a very interesting topic to discuss with you today. It's also an extremely serious topic because it boils down to business. The mandate given to us is how can technology or anything which begins with an E or has an electronic implication to it help you in increasing your profits. Each panelist over here, in fact, plays a critical role in how that ecosystem works. We are very blessed because the mix is very different. We get to hear different point of views. Everybody over here agrees that we do not want it to be a conversation between us, which means we will invite you to join in the conversation. You can have point of views, questions, or somebody here may just ask a question to you. Yeah? So before we get the show on the road, I just want one quick word from each of them, which will give a little bit of a context on how this ecosystem evolves. Yeah? I have to, of course, start with Amandeep, not only because he's right here next to me, but also because in his role as the lead for digital for the Starwood hotels, part of his mandate is to ensure how technology is being used to do precisely this, which is increase efficiency, increase revenues, and so on. But before we go there, Amandeep, for the benefit of this audience, technology is a very wide word, right? Just give us very quickly how it has evolved, what is disruptive in it today, and where do you think, or what are the specific things in technology that right now we can focus on in the next 40 odd minutes for something sensible for them to take away?
Thanks, Noor. I think it's a very interesting topic what we're discussing here today, because if I take a step back and see, back in 2000, almost from 2000 to today, about 52% of the Fortune 500 companies, they've either gone bankrupt or merged or ceased to exist. And that's primarily due to the digital age, the way the disruptive companies have come in using disruptive technology, so to say. So it's ever more important today to use technology for enhancing, not only enhancing your rooms, but also to kind of stay afloat, if I say so. And hospitality as such per se has been kind of immune to this till now. We have seen this in most of the other industries. You've seen what happened to the, the cab space of things. Look at how Uber has taken over literally every country without owning a single cab. But now we're seeing the same effect kind of trickling over hospitality as well. You look at Airbnb. Now, Airbnb today, it's the world's second largest hotel company without even owning a single hotel. So the things are changing pretty fast, and today it's extremely important for the hotel companies to utilize technology to increase their revenues and to make sure that they reach the next level without getting disrupted by the newcomers. So, and what's helping there is, I think in today's age, is the Internet of Things, because primarily the way technology was implemented in hotels, it was used in piecemeal. That used to be a typical PMS, point of sale, so to say, which I think everybody here is familiar of, and use the system as a standalone system at the hotel just to facilitate the guest check-in, check-out reservations. It was limited to that. Now the expectations of the customers have changed, and the way you target your customer, the way you get revenue for the hotel has totally changed. Now the systems are getting more and more intelligent. We talk here of big data and how we use the data which we capture at the hotels and run intelligent analytics, which Dhiraj, I'm sure, will be talking more about. So that's become critical in each and every role. It's not just about how you sell your rooms, it's also about how you retain your customers, right? And with Internet of Things, the small little sensors to camera, etc. You get so many points where you gather data about the guest, about their expectations and how they expect, their stay to be at a particular hotel, so that you can market yourself accordingly.
Correct.
So exactly. Yeah. So that's where I feel the technology is headed. It's no longer just limited to how we use the software at the hotel, but I think it's more importantly what we do with the data to not only enhance the guest experience, but also use technologies with built-in intelligence to get the right customer at the right time at the right price.
All right,
yeah?
Perfect. I'll have to take that back, sorry.
No worries.
Yeah. We are sharing mics. Broadly, the point that Amandeep is trying to make over here is about data. And of course, IoT connects back with that we can further focus on. But what one takeaway from his sentence for me over here was, this helps you in knowing your customer better. Now, for somebody such as Nikhil, in his line of services, the main objective is to enhance the in-hotel experience. So how do you manage it for the customer? And more importantly, he also has to ensure, or his services are also end up being extremely staff-centric, right? Two very important things that connect back to our conclave today. So I'm going to now request you to just give us a sense on how do you connect this back to profits?
Sure. So what is profit, right? It's revenue Mine is cost. What does your cost line consist of? Any hotelier, and I see some good friends here from the industry. All of you know there's your energy line and there's your personnel line, and there are two very important cost lines that you're trying to manage, right? What we do largely, or pretty much since we were founded 10 to 15 years ago, is focus on the personnel side of things and focus on making better processes, better systems for people to manage hotels. So rather than going across the board, I'm going to focus on one particular piece of technology, which I think is quite rapidly actually spreading across the world, which is housekeeping technology. Now, there's a lot of housekeepers in the room. The previous panel also was about housekeeping. Most of the stuff that's happened in housekeeping has not really touched on technology so far. If you look at housekeeping and how it's handled, it's pretty much the same way broadly for the last 30, 40, 50 years, right? The PMS came in, gave a little bit better organization to the system, but largely it's not changed, right? And I think we're now in an age, thanks to devices that you can carry in your pocket, which are practically supercomputers today, right? So the device in your pocket or my pocket today has the same power as the NASA supercomputer that sent the first, spaceship to the moon, right? I mean, that kind of processing power, connectivity, right? So every hotel now has Wi-Fi, pretty much, right? And 3G, 4G, et cetera, is there anyway as a backup. That makes a lot of things possible. So think back to the basic thing that a housekeeper does. She starts in the morning by making a list of all the rooms that every housekeeping attendant is supposed to service, right? That list is made at 7 a.m. It takes about 2 hours to make that list in a 200-room hotel. Okay, because it takes all sorts of constraints into account, and who's rostered where, and who can do what kind of rooms, and VIP rooms have to be done by someone else, and crew rooms have to be done by someone else, and all that. And you do all of that, you spend all this time preparing that sheet. You then give these written or printed out sheets to the housekeepers. They go up to the floors, and then they're checking stuff off, and then all through the day you're radioing them or trying to talk to them because there are updates, obviously, right? Lots of things have changed, right? Now, we don't need that anymore. We don't even need that sheet anymore because we're in real time. I can communicate with a housekeeper on the floor through a device and send every piece of information to them in real time, which means when a housekeeping attendant completes the first room, I automatically tell them which room to do next, right? It's not very different from DHL delivering parcels, and the route of the truck is controlled by software to figure out the most optimal route to get the packages to every destination on time and minimize fuel consumption.
Correct.
So on a floor, I'm trying to clean each room just before it's actually needed, so just before arrival time of the guest, right? And minimize the back and forth that goes on in terms of movement between rooms or between floors of a housekeeper, right? And that's not complicated. So today, the fact that there's a device in each person's hand and it's connected to Wi-Fi means that the software can do all the processing for you, and which means ultimately that my people do more rooms in less time. I don't need as many supervisors and coordinators as I have today, right? So directly hitting the line, the cost line. The second way in which this is happening now, and we're just creating that technology, is on the revenue side. So take a city like London today, where we have a lot of customers. We've done studies now that have shown that at a typical London hotel, I won't name the hotel, but it's a well-known brand, they have about 400 rooms. They have about at least 40 guests a day who walk in the morning and who need rooms. These guests are not going to block one previous night. That's ridiculously expensive, right? To just make sure they do get their rooms in the morning. But all the flights from the US and from Asia land in London in the morning, right? How do you make these rooms available? So one is, of course, we optimize through our housekeeping system. But the second thing is, well, I can actually charge for these rooms, right? So if I am making these rooms available, I can say if you want a room at 7 a.m., it's going to cost you £100 extra. If you want it at 8 a.m., it's going to cost you £75 extra. If you want it at 10 a.m., it's going to cost you £25 extra, right? But that's the difference between you having a productive business day and wasting time not being able to get into your suit and shower up till 1 o'clock in the afternoon when the official check-in time is there. Right? So massive revenue opportunity. So at this one particular hotel where we're going to roll this out and beat a stage, we calculate that we can add £2,000 to £2,500 a day of revenue. Okay, that's serious, and that's all money to the bottom line. There is no additional cost
to service this revenue, to create it, which means I'm already adding a humongous amount to the profitability of the hotel as it stands today.
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So these are the kinds of things that will start happening. And I still believe that what we're doing with housekeeping technology right now is still in the silent movie era. We've not even scratched the surface. Right? So if we extrapolate from this much further, what stops us, if my housekeeping is under control, what stops us from selling rooms for 6 hours in the day? There's a day use option, right? Today hotels can't do that. It's not easy to do that. They have to do a lot of manual work to try and do these day use things, or to say I can give you a room from 1 to 6 seamlessly, because the rest of their operation is not geared up for it. They may book it seamlessly, right? But what next? How do I make sure the room is ready at 1 and then is turned around at 6 for someone checking in at 9?
Makes sense, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what, I think that's where things are headed, and very concretely, that's where we will create revenue and reduce cost.
All right,
That's
perfect.
what
That's
technology
actually two really good examples. We are still on the more general side of the conversation, so I do have a question for all of you here. Very quickly, just give me a sense. There are 3-4 points he made. One that has stuck with me right now is that technology, when employed, is able to give you efficiency. It's able to cut down on the laborious part of the work, and you're then able to deploy the same resource to do something more creative, something more value add. Now, how many of you are going to agree that in the hotel ecosystem in India, we are able to do this at probably 80%? We are 80% there in the hotel ecosystem in India. How many of you will agree? None of you agree. Shall I bring the number down? Are we there at 50%? How many of you think it's 50%? Show of hands, please. That's like still, what, 10% of the room? Yeah, 10% of the room. So what do the rest of you think? It's lower? 40%. Okay. Does anybody here think it's lower than, say, 20%? No. Okay, good. So we are probably sitting at 40 to 50%. That's actually not bad. Am I right in saying that? That's not bad, right? I mean, considering that it's still nascent in India, and if we are actually being able to do it at 40 to 50%, there is scope for growth. But that kind of course, leads us to the next line of conversation and to the topic. This is one of the solutions where technology is adding to the profits. But there is a whole wide net that some players have cast out there to be able to make the most of it. RezNext happens to be one such player. In a very interesting conversation with Dhiraj earlier today, he gave me like 5 words to describe his company, and they were all like, for me it was truly mind-boggling, because interesting words, like it's all about it's a global solution which allows real-time integration with demand generators and hoteliers. Did I get that right? I got that right, thank you. Thank you. But interesting, right? So we have to now figure out better from him what his company is able to do right now to be able to increase the profit lines for most of you people.
Sure. Thanks, Noor. I think, yeah, when the other panelists talked about, getting your strategies right at the right time, at the right price, when we talk about revenue management as a whole, we can't look into silos. We can't only look at rooms as one of the key area of profitability. But when we get into as a whole, we at RezNext, what we do is that we are the enablers between the demand generators. So it can be your third-party sites, it can be a global distribution, it can be a website or mobile devices. So what we do is that we connect demand generators to hotels directly.
Great, yeah.
And what we do is that we believe in our two-way seamless connectivity. And when we say seamless connectivity, revenue management as a whole plays a very vital role. So we say that who are revenue managers at the hotel? I define revenue managers that everybody is working at the hotel is a revenue manager who's responsible. Yeah, so the sense of owning, sense of profitability, or sense of looking at the overall revenue for the hotel, you can't say that he's or she is a revenue manager at the hotel. So when we talk about revenue management, getting the right price, right segment. So your timing, using the right technology. What kind of technology is what we talked about, that technology plays a very vital role currently. And more and more revenue management tools are coming in. The situation of a revenue manager is becoming complex.
Yeah.
So when we look at demand generators, you have every new company coming in who is selling a room online. You have whether it's Uber getting connected with Oyo or the new guys coming in. These are challenges which are coming in for a revenue guy, from a marketing perspective, sales, looking at PR, building the whole thing. IT plays a very vital role here. So when we talk about revenue management as a whole, the airlines started revenue management in 80s, and they did the complete automation, and we provide that automation solution to hotels. So what we say is that you focus on your guest at the hotel lobby, and we take care of your technology. We take care of your pricing decisions, enhancing your business. All that we provide that solution in. So there are a couple of points which I was been just writing that, how do you handle the complex situation? You need to have automation in. With mobile itself is a huge market. Right. Within mobile, you have your different set of mobiles where who's paying how much, what is the buying pattern. So when you get into the details of understanding consumer behaviors, so if I'm a hotelier and if I don't know where my consumers are coming from and what sort of things are they looking up for, then I'm leaving a lot of money on the table, which is unattended. So as a brand, as a hotel, we need to connect real time with our end consumers. Right. And at the same time also connecting your end consumers to your internal consumers. So if those who are selling your product, what is it that they are looking up for? So if promotions and packages which have been updated real time by revenue or marketing team, and if that doesn't reflect on your front desk, then you lose out on huge opportunity there. So what we say is that how do you handle the complex situation? Okay. You handle the complex situation by putting your integration right, by putting your pricing strategy, your timings right, which tools. So we say that is your customer coming to the hotel, the acquisition cost per guest coming to the hotel. Are you calculating that? If a guest coming to a hotel, booking in through a third party site and I'm paying off 25% plus I'm paying certain collection fee also. So as a hotelier, we need to see that how do we bring that cost down. Your loyalty, your direct connect, your business where you need to reach out to your end consumers directly. We are not saying that you overlook your third party or global distribution, but these are certain things which add a lot of value to your bottom line. And you see that your loyal customers, those who are coming to the hotel, you pay very minimal then looking out for a new consumer or customer at the open end. So we look at all these areas and then we try and get some sense out of the whole complex situation, which is automated, which is real time, and you maximize based on your acquisition cost by channel.
All right, lots of keywords there as well. But I would like to kind of now throw it back right now just to see if anybody here has a question that is more directed to all the things that we heard right now. So of course we heard some great examples on how you can look at focusing on housekeeping and increasing your revenues. But what Dhiraj is trying to say and what the point that he has made is about automation and integration, right? Like suddenly it's talking about hiring like all these mathematicians in your system versus just great hospitality people, right? So yeah, Avijit has a question. Can somebody please get a mic to Avijit? Please tell me there's a mic. Yeah, it's coming to you.
Yeah, hi. So I was actually saving this question for after when everybody finishes, but I just thought, why not now? So we spoke about Dhiraj, we spoke about integration, we spoke about housekeeping, we spoke about new technologies, and I'm sure other technologies that you've very successfully built are taking doing a lot of changes in the ecosystem. But eventually, Dhiraj, the point that you made of calculating the acquisition cost of a guest coming to a hotel, from the time he enters your lobby till the time he gets out, goes to the spa, housekeeping, whatever he does, orders, minibar, everything. Collectively, with the housekeeping, with revenue management, with the PMS systems, all of that, are we ever looking at a collective profit per customer through integrated systems throughout? Is that happening? I don't know that. It's a question from my side.
Fair enough.
Do we know?
Yeah.
Are technologies anywhere, maybe in the hotels that you're working with in London or anywhere overseas, are they collectively working anywhere where we know that, this guy checked in and when he checked out, this was how much I made, because all my systems are working together. The housekeeping system, the revenue management system, the PMS. Is there a complete holistic integration happening anywhere?
So my sense is I don't think so. I don't think I have seen hotels. I think hotels calculate the cost of acquisition. right? I.e., like he was saying, how much have I paid to the channels, my own website, etc., to bring somebody through the door? I don't think any hotel can give you a profitability today per guest, right? So they don't know what the profitability for Avjit is for that particular stay.
Sure.
I don't think they computed that way, and I don't think, but I think they will get there. I think at some point somebody's going to have to get them there, because we are moving to the realm of treating every customer more and more individually, and going away from treating them as one nameless, faceless group.
Right.
We're trying to prototype them based on what channel they come through, how they book, what their SPG status is, etc., etc. I mean, they're doing a lot. I mean, they've scrapped a lot of standard software and have built their own software now to try and go down that path. So I think there, but then I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah, just to add to that, you might not be able to calculate the profitability of each customer, which you can, but in terms of revenue, you do add up for each customer how much he or she spent at a hotel during the stay. So that, yes, we are doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dhiraj, you want to add?
Yeah. So, Avi, just to answer, what's happening in India is absolutely different than what's happening on the other side of the globe. If you look at US market as a whole, their banks, their insurance, their cards, all details are connected real time.
Right.
So to know consumer behavior, your buying pattern, and looking at buying a hotel, that sort of integration is still at early stages in India market. So if I need to know what's your buying pattern, till the time I'm not connected real time with your banks, your social sites, and your behavior on mobile itself, that would you like to see ads in the morning, or would you like to see those ads in the evening?
Right.
Yeah, and even if the ads are not being targeted based on your needs, then it becomes money on the table again.
Sure.
So at this stage, India and China has a great opportunity in terms of taking this thing to a next level. Integration plays a very, very larger role. Bigger hotel chains, the rooms division doesn't talk to their banquets or conference. If they need to look at optimizing their conference halls or their banquets or their pricing, their menu or their pricing, what they are offering to their end consumers, are not directly connected to their purchase. So is my rate of the day which I'm buying onions at, is it going to impact on my ingredients and the price cost? So all that, when we look at as a whole, it has a great opportunity, and I see as we grow and things are getting into the right perspective, it will, in the near future, what you see is that it will get connected. That's the way forward, right? And we can't just say that we want to stay away from mobile, internet. We can for a certain duration when you're doing yoga and all, but yes, that's the need of the hour.
Tell me what yoga to do.
Okay, so those of you who didn't know, that question came from Avijit Arya, who runs an agency called Internet Moguls, and in fact is quite a specialist in the social media space. Let's just focus on that space a little bit, in fact, right now, because it is pretty much a topic of conversation, how social media has helped people in incremental businesses. So right now we will keep the exposure part of social media separate from our conversation. We will focus more on how it has helped in growing the business. In fact, I think for that particular topic, Amran, would you like to give us your view? So, just to give a brief introduction here, Amran company is pretty much providing IT services to hotels since 1986. And we've convinced him to not focus on that aspect, but on this, because that's another area of super focus for him. And
I would like to talk about two suggestions, two strategies by which actually, instead of being afraid of social media, you can use social media to improve your revenues or reduce your costs. I start with the assumption that companies like Internet Moguls will help you get your social media presence right. Three important factors. First, set expectations right. Do not write about your hotel descriptions at your website or at any other OTAs which exceed what you can actually deliver. Then, number two, when the guest walks in, exceed their expectations, exceed what you've claimed, make them very happy. Third, encourage them to go and post on the social media rather than hide it. I know Nikhil's over here from Lemon Tree Hotels. Nikhil's hotel hands out little slips saying, please review us on social media. Perfect thing to do. Once you've done that, then read a little about it. If you have a positive reputation, ComScore says that 38% buyers will pay you a higher price. Compare your competitive set. Find out what price they are selling at. If they are selling at your price, you can afford to raise your price marginally. Raise it. The chances are you will not drop occupancy. Raise it a little more. The chances are you will not drop your occupancy, but you'll increase your ADR. At some point in time, your occupancy will get hit. Stop. You've reached your optimum selling price. You managed to increase your selling price without additional advertising costs and at a very, very low cost. The second area, all of you agree, the channel distribution costs are high, OTA costs are high. You wish that you could book more rooms through your own hotel websites. The problem is, how do you get traffic to your own hotel websites? And having got that traffic, how do you keep them there to book them there? Two things important. Number one, look at a site like Holiday IQ who want to sell you rooms. They actually do destination reviews, do top 10 reviews, do top 5 reviews. They attract you to read about destinations. You post them, you share them at your Facebook website. Your friends, again, share that. That information goes viral. The holidayIQ.com website address travels with the shares. Someone travels back to holidayIQ.com and then makes a booking over there. The second thing, people who eventually reach your website, statistics suggest that 95 to 97% of them will leave your website to go to a review website to read about your hotel before they make a booking. So, and of those, only 40% will come back to your site. No, sorry, of that 40% will consider booking you, 60% will make a booking on other websites, at other hotels. Out of that 40%, a large percentage will book through an OTA. You still are incurring costs. A very small percentage has come back to you. So what can you do about that? There's an example called the Mirror Hotel in Barcelona. They publish customer reviews from 100 different review sites at their own website. They have great reviews because they set the expectation right. They delivered on those expectations. They encouraged their guests to post reviews. Now, having read those reviews from Expedia and various other sources, you're happy to make a booking at their site. The hotel has not incurred any channel costs. They have saved money. Yes, it's very important to do all that you're doing currently in the social media space. But here are two simple strategies that can work for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Amlan. So, of course, again, very sound advice, but I think one takeaway was content, right? I don't know how much hotels actually employ content marketing to be able to push themselves. I'm deviating from the topic here. We must focus on profitability because that's what we're hoping we will give you some key takeaways on by the time we are done. At this point, again, another expert on that subject would be Ronnie and what his company does. So, Ronnie, would you like to just give us some thoughts on, bringing this conversation on how we drive profitability using, again, tech?
Thank you, Noor. In fact, the question that Avijit asked was very thought-provoking. And we've been hearing about technology and what it can do in specific areas. In hotels have been adopting technology quite rapidly. From the early days when the standalone PMS systems came in place, and then from there today you're hearing about revenue management and how that helps you increase your revenues. If you can keep your costs at the minimum, you can increase your profitability. There is a whole lot of available digital systems to you to sell to your clientele, to run your operations, manage them more effectively, increase efficiencies like we heard from Nikhil. But if they continue to be disparate, those data is not available to you on a real-time basis. every day, then you cannot use the data to make your hotel profitable. Now, you can have millions of dollars in budgets and start multiple integration systems to interface the diverse solutions that you have at your hotel, but still not have analytic data available to you, then it's meaningless. So what you need actually is a way to pull data from all your systems, which you have already implemented and you're using, and make it available to you in a form which is actionable at the time that you need it. You don't need data as of the last night audit, because that data is a few hours old. If you truly want to act on your data and take a business decision, you need the data to be available now. And that is extremely important. Technology has moved on. Hamlan talked about 30 years, and incidentally, I'm 30 years in the IT industry too. We all started young.
Just admitted to my age.
So, the interesting thing is, in that 30 years, and Nikhil alluded to that for a while, he said that you have computing power on your cell phones, which is equal to, what was mainframe computers 30 years ago. All right? So, what we can bring to you, and that is what the hotelier requires, is to have a digital pulse meter. You actually need to understand the data now as it is happening. And it should be available to you on the go. You shouldn't have to go back to your office and to open a computer, a desktop, or even a laptop to look at that data. Even the laptop's dead. If you look at if you're changing customer profiles, they are the millennials who are today interfacing with you using their mobile phone. Yeah. The form factor has changed. As every one of you know, that every hotelier's job, the main job, is to interact with their guests, to service their guests. You don't want hoteliers to be sitting behind computer systems and trying to figure out what is the right thing to do. Rather, you should be able to find that on your mobile as you're moving through the corridors of your hotel, as you stand in the lobby greeting your guests, or as you are in the restaurants, at the F&B outlets talking to your guests. And that is the change that is very interesting, that is happening now. A technology to pull all the data into your smartphone. Thank you.
Interesting, very interesting. So, two viewpoints over here strongly have been about how technology helps in improving experience. Now, I'm assuming most of the people in this room have stayed in some hotel in India? Yeah? Great. How many of you would say that the hotel, and that if you have not just the first time, but also the second time, so ideally go with the second experience, was able to probably customize your experience, or the hotel was really able to provide you first-class experience in the time that you were there? How many of you would say that you had that experience? 1, 2, and 3. Bikramjit, you don't count. He's an editor, he really does not count. 4 people? Really, 4 people? Okay, somebody is being nice and it has become 5. That's really bad, guys. That's really bad. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make over here is there is disparity. There is great services that's coming through, or there are services that are meant to only do this, meant to help the hotel to enhance and make the experience better. And yet a general consensus, I have to say that would pretty much be what you hear from a larger audience, that the general consensus is not of the best experience which is customized to them, or which at least takes care of some very basic things, and people complain. Why is that the case? I mean, do you want to give a view on that? Why does that happen? Why the disparity?
Sure. So like I said, typically even till date, the way we are using systems, it's depended a lot on the end user, how they interpret the data and make use, good use of that particular data. So there's still a lot of human intervention there. So with all these technologies available now, and like rightly pointed out, what you do with that actual data and provide that useful information to the employee who's serving the guest.
Right.
So that's where we're getting at. And I think the numbers are far and few here. I'm sure if you have a large audience, the percentage might be slightly higher because hotels do put in a lot of effort for the repeat customers to provide them with that customized experience. And when I talk of Starwood, our major focus now is a push towards our SPG app. So what we're trying to do for our regular customers is provide them with an end-to-end experience. It's not just coming and staying at our hotel. It starts off with booking the hotel from the SPG app. And then, of course, you have to book a flight ticket. So there are alliances with different airlines come into play where you can use your SPG miles. And then about a few months back, we announced a partnership with Uber. So you can book your Uber cab and still rack up your SPG points. And then you come into the hotel, and that smartphone of yours, like everybody pointed out, that becomes your key. So we recently launched the smart check-in at our Loft branded hotels. So you straight away walk up to your room, open your room door with the smartphone, and while you're exiting, you again pay up through your smartphone. And all this data information about that customer is stored in the SPG app. And then when I spoke about Internet of Things and how it is interfacing it at the guest room, hotel, everywhere. So the next time the guest comes in, we know his or her exact preferences, what sequence he likes the channels, and what temperature he or she likes the room to be set in. So next time when you check in, it's automatically set. So it's the keys, I think, in automation. So all this technology is available, but it's expensive as of now, and not all hotels are implementing it. But I think, give it another 5 to 10 years, we'll be seeing it more in play, and I'm sure that percentage number will be much higher. Yeah.
At the risk of being unpopular, I really want to say this. There is technology available. Hotels aren't using it. It amazes me the number of hotels I check into that I've stayed in earlier. They give me a registration form to sign without my name on it.
Yeah.
Now what happened here? And I'm including customers who use our own software. We cry ourselves hoarse, and I'm sure Ronnie does that too, saying, listen guys, we gave you a system with a guest history and a rich guest history over there. Once in a while, please, will you train your people to link that, to be able to see what I did last time, what did I ask for last time? Use that information. So yes, I have to agree with whoever made this comment. No, we're not using the information. The information is there. There's a wealth of information there. You go out there to negotiate your next bulk contract, negotiated contracted rates with your travel agents or who have you. Your PMS has statistics on how much production they gave you, how many room nights, which season. Did they give it to you in the low season, in the high season? Use that to negotiate rates. You're not doing that. Sorry, excuse me. It's my constant complaint.
So, no, I'll just say, I think both Amlan and Mandeep also, they refer to this. The point is there is information. Yeah. It's about making it actionable, right? So, for example, a lot of the information that he's talking about, even though it's there, I don't have time as a housekeeping supervisor, for example, to actually sit and go through this book of information. I can tell you in a lot of hotels in India, and we're really a luxury market, right, still. They have great guest profiles. I can tell you they can write an encyclopedia on some guests. Who on earth has the time to read that? No one. So it's a whole lot of garbage, right, which nobody's ever going to read. Right? It's impossible. So yes, you can do a lot. What ends up happening is you do a lot for those 50, 60 guests who stay regularly and who are very old timers. But frankly, you don't need a system for that because you know what? Those old timers are known by the staff anyway. Right? And I think it's about making the information actionable by a staff member. So for example, just as an example on the same housekeeping, right? And I'll stick to that. If the housekeeper is going into the room and when she looks at the screen, and the screen says, room number 201, Mr. Sarna checking in. Right below his name, it says he likes this, this, and this in his room. Correct. Right? Points. That's all. That's how you make it actionable.
Correct.
Right? And I think it's about getting there. Unfortunately, we're not
quite there yet, but I think as technologies evolve, that's what it's going to get. So for example, with his SPG app, he's going to be able to gather the data, that's for sure.
That's true.
Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because now he has a single point through which a guest is doing most things.
Yeah.
If a guest is calling up 10 different touch points in the hotel, there's no way I can gather that data. It's almost impossible. Now he has a single server into which all the requests of all the guests from all his hotels are coming in. Imagine the power of that.
Yeah.
And then imagine using that, filtering it out and saying, okay, what does the housekeeper need to know? Now, as soon as she goes into the room, those two things are going to flash up.
Right. So we're
You know?
kind of getting there. Dhiraj,
we're
you wanna
getting
add
there, but-
something?
Here with all the hoteliers, the point what I'd like to make is that believe in your data, get the data in place. No matter if it's a garbage, initially you'll have garbage in, garbage out, but the more data what you have, the better decisions what you take in future days to come. If you don't have any data, you will not have any historical trends or past information to take your future decisions. Business intelligence is one of the key factors where you can look at integrating your business intelligence. However, looking at the large data where we are struggling in the industry is that how do we manage that big data? Get the data in, organize your data, and start taking small decisions. And once you are at a stage where you see that things are structured, take scientific decisions. Do not feel that it's my gut or based on my experience. You will lose out on business against your competition. So that's the key on data.
All right, fair enough. So 2 questions up front. I'm going to request you for the for the benefit of the audience, introduce yourself once and.
Hi, my name is Rafaqat Ali Khan Mirza, and I am a strategic advisor on hospitality. So the question is, yes, there's a difference between deployment, installation and utilization of the technology which is available there. And it was already discussed by Amlan, and I agree to that. The bigger question is that a lot of hoteliers think this is more of an art than a science. And more often than not, revenue management becomes an exercise in punting at the end of the day. So how do you circumvent that? Because you go by gut feel, you still see a lot of Excel sheets going on. Dhiraj, you and I have worked together, and there are hotels which are not even opened ever, their revenue management module. And I'm talking about legacy systems, not even cloud. So,
Okay, so
so how do you get this punting habit out of the way and say this is the data to be used?
So Rafaqat, the current scenario in India market is that we still believe in our Excel sheets. Data which has been pushed, and as what Ronnie said, that after night audit, if you're getting information in, and if my business intelligence says that your competition is increasing pricing R on R, and as rightly said, that if I need to get into selling my rooms on hourly basis, is the housekeeping geared? Do I have that data coming in real time? Is my business intelligence giving that right direction towards? Looking at the current scenario, we have challenge in hand. And that's where revenue manager's role becomes very complex at hotels, to consolidate information, put all these Excels in one sheet, and by the time you start taking decisions, you lose out on a lot of time. So to answer, this is what the current stage is with most of the hotels. And the hotels where they don't have in-house intelligence or experts, those who are working on revenue management, they would end up go and talk to the companies like what you've seen with Oyo, Zo, all these guys are coming up with. The hoteliers doesn't have basic knowledge in terms of getting the hotels up on EE platforms. So where you're coming from, you're saying that good to have Excel or manual data to start with any data, what you are putting it right. It makes a lot of sense when you have your data of let's say a couple of months, which is in a format where you start taking decisions. Start with your best available rate. Yeah, that's your unconstrained, unrestricted price, which is available all through. It doesn't have any cancellation policy in it. However, you can place that pricing in, and then when you see that your information is more towards taking a minimum length of stay decisions or group decisions, whether I need to say yes to a group or whether I need to say a no to a group. It's a business. It's very difficult in today's scenario that based on my Excel I say a no to a business. Is it something I'm taking a business, moving a business, saying no to it and bringing in a higher demand which is maybe 7 days out or 3 days out. So to answer, at this stage, it is important to put things in place. Take tools which is highly integrated. Use tools which are simple to use. Whether to start with mobile, start with simple spreadsheets, and then start looking into your integration where you see, at this stage I can invest heavily on my technology. And from there, move on, get some revenue management tools in. Today you have multiple revenue management tools available. We also have that white labeling in. What we can do is, based on the business needs, we offer certain solutions and then we move from there. So go on with the data, what is there available, and then take some decisions at a later stage.
Just a quick
We have
question.
exactly time for at best 2 more questions.
So you can choose the answer, Dhiraj. Who do you think is the best revenue manager? Because we see all kind of people coming in, either up the reservation route or finance or front office, or sometimes practically nobody is there.
Oh yeah. So initially, revenue management, when it was started, people thought it's a reservations job because somebody needs to handle reservations. A stage came in when front office said, no, it's inventory, so revenue guys should report into me. Then sales, because of the price point. You see where Taj is today. You see Chinmay, who's a dear friend. Most of the chains, even Marriott International, you'll see, and even with Hilton, your sales and marketing is now reporting into your revenue management as a whole. So as we discussed in our initial discussion, that this is a very complex situation. So if a revenue manager, if you're looking at, everybody to me is a revenue guy. What all opportunities are there at the hotel? If I need to sell this banquets, if I need to sell my other conference room, would it be a right time? What kind of segments do I need to target? Is my pricing in sync with what the market demands are? Is my intelligence in? So all that you have to keep it in factor and then start taking a call on. So for me, revenue management is something which there is no rocket science. It's a practice what you need to put it in, get the data in place, get right people with right mindset and attitude, and then get your tools in place and slowly build that revenue manager as a culture for your organization. Okay. Does that answer? Sorry. Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you so much for that. Second last question, make it a good one.
Good afternoon, this is Prashant. I handle the revenue performance for the Imperial New Delhi. A challenge today, which is increasing day by day, is of fake bookings. Do we have any technology, or we're working on something wherein we control for whether it's OTA partners, your brand sites, wherein people sitting in Middle East, Africa, do not book you with fake credit cards? There were earlier fake credit cards which were identifiable, but now they're even enhanced. They're using credit cards which you can't even trace are fake or not. They book it and they cancel it within your cancellation policy, which is what's a potential no-show. Now your booking window was 3-4 days. Now you have rooms in your hand. Where to sell it? So, fake bookings.
Yeah, Prashant, see, the first and foremost thing I'd like to say that it's a hotel. Who's in the hotel allowing people to enter? It's the hotelier, those who are allowing third party to come up with. Yeah, these kind of fake information which is coming in. I think number one is get your payment integration in place. If you think that you have a major chunk of business coming in last minute, or for example, booking.com doesn't have a payment gateway in, everything comes in, and where you're coming from, if it's a window of 3 days, most of revenue guys, whether it's sales or with front desk, majority of the time is data crunch or data information which has been fed into from an email to a PMS. And you lose out on your strategic viewpoint of taking decisions. So to answer, what is it that we can do? Number one, look at your channel. Look at which channel you need to work with. Do you need to give that flexibility? And if you're giving that flexibility, how many rooms do you want to give? Now 1 room, 2 room, depends. And if it's an Imperial, you think it's a product where you need to have money secured, then get your cancellation policy in place. Talk to your channel partners, tell them that if in case what happens, then that's something that you have to then decide on with your third party side and see that will it make a good business sense for me to open 1 or 2 room on channels where I have my distress inventory lying. And in case you see that there are fake information coming in, there are solutions available where what you need to do is that get your account integrated where that basic checks can be in place. Don't take upfront full money for the stay. However, you can just do a transaction of $1 or $2 and see if you know that can help. You know, and I'm sure you guys can. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah. So just to add to that, actually, we need to look at the risk factor of accepting a credit card. You know, it's limited to a no-show basically, because once a guest reaches the hotel, you can always authenticate the card. So at Starwood, we took a conscious call of not charging anything on the credit card. It was used primarily just for authenticating, unless and until it was a heavily discounted deal where you were charging upfront, for which then, of course, you call back the customer, make sure the credit card is legit and the charge is legit. So since the time we have stopped kind of charging anything on the credit card for any kind of a reservation, we haven't seen any kind of a increase in no-shows. You know, it's around about the same figure. So I think it's an acceptable risk in today's date, and also the payment gateway has had advanced quite a bit with your chip and pins and, you know, all that stuff, your pin coming through your SMS. So that risk is reducing, and I think whatever minimal is left, that's something which we need to kind of accept for now, just for the no-shows bit. You know, thanks.
Fair enough. I know, Abhijit, you have a question, but there's one last question there. I'm going to let him take it. Last
Hi,
question.
This is Nikhil from Lemon Tree Hotels. My question's to the tech players. Are you looking at the business model with the Zomatos of the world offering a free POS, Oyo creating its own PMS system, and they will eventually have all the data that they need? Are you looking at your business model differently today? And if so, are you going to look at pricing it down or go the Oyo or the Zorooms way? Yeah?
Ronnie,
Any one of you?
Yeah.
Ronnie, Amlan?
See, technology, if you look at it, technology systems rather, they have evolved and they continue to evolve based on the business dynamics. So, did we create technology solutions in isolation? We did not. Something dictated us to do that. Something dictated us to change that. And I'm just not talking about the hospitality industry. My experience goes beyond the hospitality industry. So every piece of technology that you see, whether it is a PMS or whether it is a revenue management system or whether the coming Internet of Things, it is all because it is driven by some kind of demand. Now, we have to look at, as a technology provider, we are also business people. So we have to take business risks and business decisions. So I think as the demand evolves, we will start looking at how we can address that demand from a technology perspective.
Amlan, you want to add to that?
Sorry, Nikhil, I heard Zomato, but I didn't hear the other example that you had.
So Oyo is doing a free PMS, right?
Yeah, but it's more in your domain. I'm not sure. I mean,
Well, he's getting into Uber premium space before you know. So I had breakfast with him just last week. He's getting in the Uber premium space. That's where he wants to be in, eventually.
Right.
So you will have the ITCs and the Taj speaking to him. Whether to do it or not is a separate issue. But that's a serious threat to your business model.
It's a serious threat, I admit. But again, it's a question of running hotels or aggregating hotels is not the business, for example, my company is in. Would we enable such technologies? Certainly will, as Ronnie said. The moment we see an opportunity, we will. Are we doing it today? No.
So just to add to that, Nick, I think very interesting question, you know, since you're talking about the disruptive stuff and you guys know it better than anybody else, I think, in the hospitality space. To answer your specific question of PMS, you know, the way Oyo and et cetera are building their own PMS for these smaller hotels, I think the functionality is very limited right now, and it's working more at the guest house level. And once they grow into that luxury space, and right now the way they want to enter is by the route of an OTA. They'll be kind of an OTA for the bigger brands. They'll not kind of manage them whole-fledged right now. Down the line, you never know. But once they reach their stage, they will definitely need something more complex and something which can handle the whole scenario better. So that's where, you know, the advanced PMS, and we have a good friend from Oracle sitting right there. So those players will be there, but of course, they will have to change their model. It's becoming more kind of, it's not software as a service anymore. It's the whole solution as a service. It's not just PMS, you know, it's everything on the cloud, and you just plug and play and you start up a hotel. So then I think it'll evolve from both ends. They will kind of mature up to the next level, and the existing PMS players will come out with new technologies to cater to that particular threat.